Is that for us? Yeah. You're very kind.
How did 25 years go by so quickly?
Here's another one.
I mean, it's just in a blur.
Thank you.
And I think when we started Tom's Turkey Drive,
Oh, look at that.
you know, I think we just were really year to year. I don't think we really thought that there would be this, I don't know, long-term need or something else would come along or we didn't need to be doing it anymore. And it just developed an energy of its own. And not just from the recipients, but from the whole community, the whole Inland Northwest. Fabulous volunteers right here.
This is from Rogers High School. I've got Emily from Lewis and Clark High School. All kids from Ferris High School, the Saxons.
I mean, it just was this magical time where people really believed in what we were doing. You know, a beautiful family meal to give thanks to whomever.
I think we're gonna donate about $20.
$20?
We are donating $2,000.
Oh my God! Holy moly, thank you!
And it just became this incredible thing to where now we just say, you know, this can't stop. This is just a beautiful, this is like Bloomsday. This is, you know, this is just a wonderful tradition.
Basic math is simply this. We've got to give away a turkey and a bag of food every 5 seconds for 12 hours.
We love how you guys do this every year.
There's a lot of people in this town that need help.
Everyone gets it. Everyone believes in Thanksgiving and families being together. Everyone believes that. And that's why I think that's the beauty and magic of Tom's Turkey Drive.
When it comes to Tom's Turkey Drive, people always seem to remember the long lines.
Thousands of people braved the 20-degree temperatures this morning to be the beneficiaries of Tom's Turkey Drive.
The lines at the Salvation Army for distribution back in the early days.
I'm very grateful for the people that helped this go on.
Before 2014, when I started, I knew there was a need out in the community, but I had no idea how bad it was until I started doing it. So I understand now what is needed.
Then those long lines at the arena.
Come on through, there's 3 tables for distribution.
It always seemed so cold on those early mornings.
What are you thankful for?
Turkey.
And then the long line of cars at the fairgrounds during COVID.
Hi, how are you?
That line seemed endless.
Lots of folks are hurting, and now they've got a place to go to get a Thanksgiving dinner, and that's because of you.
People tell me long lines. That's what they see on TV. All the community coming out.
It was pretty amazing to get there at, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you've got families lined up to receive a meal. The event, Tom's Turkey Drive, really fosters that sense of community.
But community and Tom's Turkey Drive means so much more than lines. It's often the things you don't see, that don't make television, that really speak to the community in which we live.
We were asked, or I was asked, to just supply some turkeys for a local organization. So we just set up in the parking lot of the grocery store, and it was cold, and we had volunteers, and it was really just, we didn't know any better. We just said, let's see what we can get. And we were able to get a couple hundred turkeys. And from there, it just kind of blossomed.
When the meals, the canned foods and the turkeys were actually at Rosar's, and we were hauling them from the store to the truck, and the amount of volunteers that would stand out in that cold for several hours was really amazing.
25 years ago, it started as just a few hundred turkeys, and with the help of community, grew into numbers we could not even imagine.
It's the most turkeys I've ever seen.
It's a near record year for the Turkey Drive, just over 11,000 turkeys and about $90,000.
The drive went phenomenally well.
Turkeys became small meals that grew into big boxes filled with over 40 pounds of food.
And as you can see, it's a big box of food, 16.5-pound turkey here, as a matter of fact.
Serving a few thousand families.
Thank you very much.
Turned into well over 800,000 meals served since the event began.
From what I understand, we are the single largest turkey drive in the Pacific Northwest.
And it's because of community, not long lines, that parents, kids, neighbors, and friends get to sit down and eat the most iconic meal of the year.
And it doesn't happen without the incredible generosity of the people who live in this community and care for their neighbor.
This is just kind of my way of giving back to the community and to Tom Sherry.
And we have a lot of good, really, really good people who live here.
And those who just wanted to get a Thanksgiving dinner to make memories with their kids.
I have my 8-year-old daughter and I have a 4-year-old daughter too. And sure enough, yeah, I got the whole meal and everything, and it just really helped out.
This is like a lifesaver for us, especially this year. I got laid off, so.
This year, on the 25th anniversary of the KREM Cares Tom's Turkey Drive, we wanted a new symbol, something that meant something to the event, to the impact. So we contacted artist and designer Chris Bovey, who, like so many in the region, already had a connection to Tom's Turkey Drive.
Growing up here, of course, that was a staple.
Bovey, Second Harvest, and KREM 2 joined forces to create a new logo.
I loved working on this project because it was a challenge, because it was something that had to be outside of the box. And it wasn't just your normal turkey.
Whittling down 25 years of community, connection, and compassion into a few words in a design was certainly hard to do. We had to boil it down to something very, very simple.
More than ever, we need to come together to the table.
In the end, that's what we decided upon for the logo. It is about bringing people to the table, about community. Because you couldn't have Tom's Turkey Drive without a community that cares. You couldn't have Tom's Turkey Drive without all of you.
There's a lot of families out there that don't have enough money to buy Thanksgiving dinners or turkeys or anything, and I think it's nice to help out Spokane.
Open the gates for Tom's Turkey Drive 2021.
I went out there and it was the coldest, wettest, ugliest weather you can imagine, and it was possibly one of the best times I've ever had here at work.
If you guys didn't do this, I don't know how I would survive, and I just think it's really, really amazing.
They didn't even have to say thank you. Most of them did, but even if they didn't, the look in their eyes of gratitude, it actually chokes me up still. I was a drowned rat, but I had the time of my life.
KREM 2's Tom Sherry. He's live at the Rosars on Spokane South. They always have a good crew surrounding you there, Tom.
I have got the crew, the posse, I'll say.
I've seen the Turkey Drive on TV over the years and always wanted to be a part of it, and that's why it was one of the things when I first joined Friends. It's like I was just willing to just jump in with both feet and just see whatever I could do to help out.
Look at that, there they come right there.
It's just a wonderful activity that we do for the community that it just keeps on going and going and going.
There are a lot of numbers in Tom's Turkey Drive. The number of volunteers alone it takes to run the event for 25 years, that's in the thousands.
Couldn't do it without these fabulous volunteers. Oh, look, this is Michelle, right?
Yes.
Michelle, thank you so much.
And the number of individuals and businesses that have supported the event,
Between 3 and 5 o'clock, the proceeds are going to go to Tom's Turkey Drive.
it's hard to pinpoint. But here's what we do know, that there have been almost 1 million meals served by Tom's Turkey Drive.
There's a lot of people in this town that need help, especially for Thanksgiving.
And so many of those people impacted are children.
Go this way? Yeah.
Alfred also has places to go. And this Thanksgiving, it will be on a full stomach.
It is estimated that over 335,000 children have eaten a Tom's Turkey Drive meal. And we can talk numbers for hours.
They're expecting 16,000 people in line starting at 5 a.m.
But numbers, like those long lines, do not tell the story of Tom's Turkey Drive. At least not the whole story, because behind every number is a person that you may feel part of a community.
Yeah, there are tears, there's, people crying in front of you, there's people with all sorts of joy and happiness and such, and it's just, you go full circle, everybody in the world, and it's just, that's part of the joy of doing it, it's just that connection with everybody.
Second Harvest volunteer Kevin Miller is known for his socks and for his humor.
There's no reason to get bored doing things here.
And while he often works behind the scenes, he knows something about being on the other end of need.
The first time I just kind of recently divorced and just had no idea where I was. And the holidays come up and you wonder what the heck you're going to do. And Tom's Turkey Drive was there. And, I was just incredibly grateful for the food that goes into it and everybody's work that goes into this. It's just an amazing amount of work that goes into Tom's Turkey Drive.
Tom's Turkey Drive was a connection for Kevin, and for so many, it's a reminder that there's a community that cares. Connections run deep for Tom's Turkey Drive, public moments that we collectively share. From windstorms to a worldwide pandemic.
25 years, a lot of stuff happens. So, financial crisis.
But if the economy's bad, donations are very, very good. It's a near record year for the Turkey Drive.
The windstorm.
Here at 29th, the store shut down because of the power outages. They are scheduled to reopen tomorrow morning, Friday morning at 5 a.m., just in time for Tom's Turkey Drive.
Remember the snow collapsing the roof at one of the Rosars up on, I think it was at the 5 Mile area. All of these things and these superhuman efforts that the supporters of Tom's Turkey Drive did. And it hasn't lost its luster.
Welcome to Tom's Turkey Drive, everyone.
It's still a shiny object, which is just beautiful. It's that flashing lure. It's good. It's like, oh, we get it. We understand this. This is a good thing. We look forward to this. We want to be part of this.
Part of something bigger, and that connects us all. It's a common refrain we hear about Turkey Drive. Often the immediate connection is when shoppers head to Rosars to buy a bag and meet the namesake himself. What is it about Tom's Turkey Drive that is special?
I think it's Tom. Tom is the guiding light of the Tom's Turkey Drive.
You see him on doing the weather and you see him doing that stuff, but to get to know him outside of the casting and to get to know him personally, it's pretty awesome.
I love the people at Tom. I love the people who buy the turkeys. And it was always super special for me to actually go up and thank them, help put the bag and the turkey in their basket that they're donating.
There are the workers and volunteers that help with distribution, the people who get to see the families that need help and watch them receive it. It is a powerful connection in itself.
Why do you do this?
Just to give back to the community.
From the volunteers that come out to stores to help raise meals to the folks that generously give of their time to distribute these meals and meals all year round, and that opportunity to connect with one another and to connect with community members who need some assistance right now, that describes it, yeah.
The energy of being at the arena at 6 in the morning and people starting to line up when we've told them we're not giving food out for a while, but they show up and they were there in those lines and those families and their little babies in strollers, and I will never forget that.
During the giveaways, people are just beautiful. They would just come up and they'd hug me, and I just, gosh, there's nothing better than that, right?
The connection really begins well before the meals, though, are handed out. The families and businesses who make it happen, connecting in a different way.
400 dinners were raised today at iTrod.
And what people don't realize is that hundreds of hours are done behind the scenes, breaking down boxes, sorting through potatoes, loading up those heavy turkeys.
It's hard work, but it's worth the time and the work that we put into it. So it makes me feel good knowing that when I sit down with my family, I know that I helped hundreds of other people go home and have meals themselves.
And there is that direct connection between the food and the families. You may not realize that the milk in Tom's Turkey Drive boxes or the rolls that are a Turkey Drive favorite are made right here in the Inland Northwest. Farmers, bakery workers, literally creating the meals that connect us all when we come to the table.
And it's a lot different now that I have my own kids.
And just knowing that there's so many other kids who get to experience a full meal on Thanksgiving, and they get to gather around products that are created by farmers all across the region.
The vegetables come from the ground in our region. Our community members pack the boxes, and neighborhood food pantries stand ready to hand them out. And in the end, it's connected us all to something positive, a meal and more.
Community, connection, compassion all go together. You can't have one without the other, in my mind anyway. They all go together, and they're very important.
It's a beautiful moment where everyone can come together, even in years where there could be a lot of strife and political unrest and arguing and all that. But during the Tom's Turkey Drive, nobody feels that way, and they all come together.
In 25 years, there has been no shortage of challenges for Tom's Turkey Drive. The financial crisis in the mid-2000s was brutal for families.
That's what many Americans are doing, as every day they watch stocks seesaw up and down.
People were scared. People had lost a lot of money, at least on paper, and a lot of jobs. That was not paper, that's real.
We're just hearing from our food bank clients that they're just trying to manage between their home bills, their utility, their fuel, and putting food on the table. It's just being really tough to manage all that.
And financial woes gave way to climate catastrophes.
It will be a day that Spokane talks about for years.
Weather experts say this is one of Spokane's biggest storms of recent memory.
November 17th, 2015. Spokane was a mess. Trees toppled onto houses, power lines dotted roadways, and at one point 200,000 people were without power.
We're hoping every single minute that our power will get back on.
Windstorm was crazy. Many of our folks were camped out in our operations conference room just to power up their devices and to stay warm. We had kids home from school. It was pretty wild to be without power for that long.
When windstorm happened, I usually was doing most of my broadcasts from the store on 29th on the South Hill. That had been closed because of windstorm. And they didn't have any power that week.
Days before the event, Rosar's employees worked to put stores back online. Avista linemen gave their time so that families could spend time together in the warmth. And when store doors opened the morning of Tom's Turkey Drive, something happened that none of us expected.
I had a chance to talk to the store employees, and almost everybody that was in there working that day, most of those people didn't have power.
Thank you so very much.
And yet they still came down to be part of that.
We never wanted for volunteers. The stores were all in. It was almost as if the storm and the discomfort that everybody was feeling really magnified their desire to help.
The windstorm tore through town but galvanized the community. And if character can best be measured during a crisis, well, the community then measured up. Compassion drove a turkey drive through a storm. And on the other side, thousands of people took their meals just as the city was being restored. And they made that year one of the most successful on record for Tom's Turkey Drive. And then, just about 7 years later, a different kind of disaster would hit.
We are asking the American public to work with us to prepare in the expectation that this could be bad.
The pandemic meant there could be no in-store effort, but need wouldn't stop because of a virus. Rather, need would soar, and so would compassion for our neighbors.
During COVID, we had to figure out how to give away these meals without becoming a super event, a super spreader, because people still needed to eat, right? And family was more important than ever.
Outside business leaders would rally to grant checks to the cause.
I am so excited to show you this check for $36,640.
And then to make sure the food could get to people, the National Guard would step in and create a plan to keep people distant and safe, but allow them to have the familiar favorite, Tom's Turkey Drive.
What they decided, the powers that be decided that it would be best we will have a drive-through event, which was brilliant.
And the massive planning and military precision paid off because 11,000 families were fed that year, and they may not have been able to sit at the table with all of their family and friends, but compassion beat back COVID, if only for a moment, and if only for a meal.
But we weren't going to have Tom there. And the reason for that was because Tom would hug too many people. And Tom might be a super spreader. And I'm glad that we're not there anymore. I'm glad I get to meet people, and I'm glad that people want to say hi and tell their story. And I love being in the stores. You know, we're in the stores again.
Financial, weather, and health disasters all had one impact on Tom's Turkey Drive: a shared elevation in compassion.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And that continues today. 25 years of Tom's Turkey Drive can best be summed up in one word: compassion. For our neighbors, and maybe for ourselves as well. For when we serve those around us, the compassion comes back. Knowing we have done something good and something right, it not only brings us to the table, but makes us stay a while. And in Tom's Turkey Drive, it's brought us to 25 years. And for that, we say thank you.
This is just a wonderful tradition. And you know, when it will stop when the people decide they don't want to support it. And that doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. For 25 years, there has always been a toast at the Sherry House to the people who donate to Tom's Turkey Drive and make it a possibility and make it a reality and make it happen and make the magic. And they do the hard work. And you know, and in that toast is to the beautiful people that are enjoying a Thanksgiving dinner because of the generosity of others. And really, it's, you know, it's a Thanksgiving miracle.